Hello and welcome to another Sky Fantasy Football video. We are back once again for a video kind of to talk about the new fixtures that were announced last week. And we've basically got the fixtures all the way up until the overhaul. If you don't know what the overhaul is, it's basically a week, normally a week, sometimes 2 weeks, where we can use unlimited transfers to kind of rejig our teams. And the past 2 seasons we've had it at the basically the middle of the season. So this time it's going to be from when the games finish on the 2nd of January is where the overhaul is going to start. This video I kind of wanted to look maybe take it as a bit of like a podcast. And just look over all the fixtures, the best captaincies, some fixture gains that you can take, basically all the way up until January. So I'll probably just maybe look at doing this in one take if possible, and we will look through everything together. I have put together the best captaincies and stuff in my opinion already so far. The only thing I've not done is looked at these fixture gains you can see on screen right now, so we can look at those together at the same time. But we'll take a look now at some of the days that have been mentioned. So looking at these fixtures then, we now have basically everything up until, game week 21. So game week 21 we have all the fixtures, and from that we can take a look at the best captaincies, kind of players that have a lot of captaincies that we're going to want to be looking to transfer in. So looking at this week, we've already established this in this week's game week preview. We do have Haaland, Salah and Son. I think we can skip over that one. Next week we do have only 2 days, which is a Saturday and Sunday game. We have went for Saka and Haaland. This is probably what's just going to be my captaincies. This obviously could change in a couple of weeks time, depending on form, etc. But for now it is kind of good just to pencil in the best captaincies. This obviously won't be final by the time these later games come around. So I went for Saka against Burnley. I think that's a fairly good decision. Wolves are in good form right now against Spurs, and Man United aren't doing too well. So even against Luton, there's probably not a player that we would own there for that. Bournemouth against Newcastle is a good option, maybe if you own someone like Trippier, but I just think Arsenal at home against Burnley is probably just going to be a bit better to go with Saka. I've went for Haaland against Chelsea. There's also the option of going for Salah against Brentford as well there. And to be fair, there's a lot of good captaincies there. Watkins against Fulham as well. Maybe Dunk if you're owning him. Maybe Matoma if you want to get him in against Sheffield could be quite good. But Haaland I think I'm going to go for, because Chelsea really aren't great defensively right now. They did just get beat 2-0 away to Brentford, so I see no reason why City can't get a few goals in that game either. And we know that Haaland can score against some of the bigger teams. Game week 16 I went for Haaland again against Liverpool. Again, not really too many big options there. Maybe Saka away to Brentford could be a good option as well, but Haaland at home to Liverpool, it's a big game, and he's going to have to be in top form for that. So again, I see no reason why he wouldn't get a goal in that. Sundays where again it's a bit of a mix up. I've went for Son. I think you could maybe go with Watkins if you wanted. Again, another game where you probably wouldn't own a Man United player against Everton, where they would probably be the best captaincy. But I personally would just be missing out on that one, and it's probably just going to be Son at home against Villa is probably the best option. Monday I have went for Polina. I think him and maybe Hwang Chan look like the best options. The thing about Hwang is I don't know how good he'll be long term. They do have Arsenal the week after, but then they do have Burnley after that as well. So if you wanted to go for someone like Hwang, it's probably not going to be too bad, but I think you would only really get him in for that captaincy, and I don't know how worth it that's going to be with the amount of fixture congestion during December. We're probably going to want to use a lot of transfers, so are you going to use a transfer just to get a captaincy for Fulham Wolves? I'm not too sure. But I do think Polina is just the more stable pick. You are basically guaranteed 10 points from that captaincy there. Then we have Saka, Salah, Saka again, Salah again, and then Trippier. I don't want to talk too much over the captaincies. We will look at those in more detail in a minute. Again, Salah, Haaland, a very recurring theme here. Son, Salah, Haaland again. Then we have Dunk, single game day with Brighton and Crystal Palace that's been announced. I think Dunk's a fairly decent option there. Palace could score a goal, but at least you're guaranteed the passes with Dunk there. So again, you're looking at 8 to 10 points. Single game day with Villa and Sheffield. Might want to look at keeping Watkins up until then. So Watkins up to the overhaul really. If you're looking for a captain then, but it is still a month and a half away. If you've got any plans of getting Watkins out soon, just make sure that you pencil in a transfer for bringing him back. Then we've got Wolves and Chelsea. I went for Thiago Silva as the best captaincy there. Again, it's probably one that I would maybe look at skipping. If you wanted to bring a Wolves player again, someone like Hwang Hee-chan, you would be looking to keep him until the overhaul. That way you have a captaincy for this Chelsea fixture as well. But again, that's probably looking like a skip. And then we have a couple other fixtures, again, usual captains, Salah, Haaland and Saka. Then finally, just before the overhaul starts, we have 2 single game days with Liverpool and Newcastle. I feel like that's an obvious Salah captain there. And then we have another Brighton captaincy there if you're going to go for Dunk. So 21st of December, you're looking past there, you're looking at maybe 2 Dunk captaincies, or at least 2 Brighton captaincies. Seems like the best option. But looking at the captaincies in a more broad detail, we have these are all the captaincies just in a table format, and you can see how many times we are captaining each of those players. So Haaland has been given the captaincy 7 times, Salah 7 times, Son's been given it 5 times, Saka 4 times, Dunk twice, Palhinha once, Thiago Silva once, Trippier once, and Watkins once. So again, looking at the players you're really going to want to have up to the overhaul is probably going to be these 4 here, which is Haaland, Salah, Son and Saka. Now, if you're like me and you don't own Son right now, you probably have Maddison as an alternative, and I know Maddison is someone we're looking to get out for Rodri. But looking at the captaincy days, we want to kind of look at where you can maybe not have Son. So obviously we're going to have Maddison as our captain here, so that's one of those captaincy days. The next one comes on Sunday, and by this time you probably don't have Maddison in your team, so you're probably looking at maybe just having Romero, Bissouma, maybe Vicario if you own him, but you're probably not going to own Maddison or Son when these fixtures come around if you plan on getting Rodri in. So maybe someone like Watkins could be a decent captaincy, but even in someone like maybe Bissouma is going to get those bonus points, but I think it is fairly obvious that Son will be the best captaincy. However, this is the 26th of November, that is still a good 3 weeks away. We do have an international break in between that as well, so maybe you could always pencil getting one of those guys back in. We do have all these fixtures on the Saturday if you wanted to gain a fixture, and then you could always get him back in on that Sunday. So that is the Aston Villa game for Spurs, which is right here. So in terms of teams that have maybe a more difficult fixture, or a difficult fixture run, even Man City still continuing that tough fixture run, but they do have quite easy fixtures there, even though they do miss that fixture against Brentford. Other than that, though, I'm not really too sure if that is. Maybe Villa, again, you could always look at getting Watkins out there, to be fair. Get Watkins out, keep him for Forest and Fulham, get him out for Son for these fixtures, and then get him back possibly for the captaincy against Sheffield. That could always be an option that we pencil in. We want to go on to this one. Son after the 26th of November. Our next captaincy for him will be the 15th of December, which is the single game day against Forest. Again, I think Son probably is the obvious captaincy there. Obviously, you can cover Son with players like Bissouma and Romero, but you're really running the risk of Son not scoring a few goals in those games. Obviously, Maddison is an option there as well, but I think if you've got Maddison, you might as well have Son, because Son is just getting more points. Maddison's not the kind of player who's going to score a hat-trick. Son is one of those players, so the points difference could end up being massive long term. So I think if you've got Son, I would maybe even look at keeping him, but again, there is always that option of taking Watkins out in a couple of weeks and going for Son from there. The next one comes the week after on the Saturday, which is Spurs v Everton. An alternative again, maybe Trippier if you've got him still. He has that game against Luton. Salah against Arsenal, always a pick as well if you don't want to captain Son. Again, I think Son is still the best captaincy. We are just looking at maybe the second best, third best in terms of covering him. And then we have another Son captaincy just before the new year against Bournemouth, and again you probably could cover that with a Saka captaincy. So you kind of have to make your own decision on that. Do you want to have Son for those 5 captaincies, or do you have someone who can cover him there? And then it's really your decision at that point. Looking at the actual single game days, all the way up until the overhaul, we do have, I think that's 8 single game days, and then you can see on the right hand side here the teams that are included in the single game days, so ones you're really going to want cover for. So Spurs obviously have this single game day literally this game week. And then the next one comes midway through December, which is still about 5 weeks away against Nottingham Forest. So if you wanted to maybe even bring him back, let's see if that is viable. If you wanted to bring Son back for that captaincy against Forest, you're missing out on only one captaincy, which is this one at the weekend. So you could go for Watkins. That will be a tough game, so Son easily could blank in that game, because Villa are a very tough fixture, and then you really don't have to worry about a Son captaincy all the way up until that single game day in the 15th of December. So again, if you do have that Rodri transfer penciled in for a week or two time, you can look at getting him back for the 15th, and that way you've got, I think, 3 captaincies out of him before the overhaul. Forest, and then Everton, and then you get him for this day against Bournemouth as well, which I think actually looks like probably a better option. That way you don't have to worry about like quick turnovers with your transfers. Some more fixtures. We're looking at 2 single game days for Chelsea. Again, you're probably just want to ignore Chelsea. You're going to cover that with Spurs, and then I would probably rather have a Wolves player for that game. Worth noting as well though that Nkunku will probably be back for this time, if you really want to look at getting him in if he picks up some form when he's back. But again, if you're looking at getting a Wolves player in for this fixture here, you can keep him all the way till Christmas Eve, and then you have another captaincy covering the Chelsea fixture. And again, we are looking at the Wolves captaincies. Brighton, they do have 2 captaincies as well, the 21st of December and the 2nd of January, so you don't have to worry about that for a good while. However, Brighton's fixtures are very, very good going forward. That's these ones right here, really right up until probably the blank. You could get him out, but then they do have this fixture, which is a single game day, so you are going to have to hold him right through the blank if you don't want him. Do they actually, is that what it is that they come through? Palace. So they literally have the single game day against Palace, then a blank, and then a single game day against West Ham. So that is quite unfortunate. Looking at the fixture gains for that one, yeah, you are really looking at a big miss in fixtures. There's probably a lot of 4-for-1s in there. Literally like every single team basically has a 3-for-1 over them right after that single, so that looks quite tough actually. That's going to be a very difficult decision to make there. But again, we don't have to worry about that for a good couple of weeks. I think most of us are probably going to have Dunk there anyway, and could always skip that fixture against West Ham. It might not be too bad. Then the rest of the teams really just have one single game day. What really is necessary in terms of like coverage, Aston Villa, we're probably going to have Watkins Wolves, Chelsea, you're probably going to be fine. Newcastle, Liverpool, everyone's going to have Salah. So it's really not too bad. Like here, you're going to have Son, Maddison. Fulham, Wolves, I think you should skip that game, but if you were going to go for a Wolves player, you're looking to keep them up until Christmas. So you've really got to make a good decision on that. Someone like Hwang is probably not going to keep up the consistency that they're doing right now, and you're going to have basically a month in between, or a month and a half. No, I think it is actually a month in between those single game days where he might not be in the best of form, and you're going to be very tempted to bring him out. But again, it is always a pick there that you can do. Then you've got Spurs again, which you'll probably have one of, well, probably Son at that point. I think by the 15th of December, you just really have to pick the one who's on form, and it's probably going to be Son. Palace, Brighton, I would go with Dunk. Watkins there for Villa and Sheffield. Again, probably would skip the Wolves and Chelsea fixture, but you might have someone like Nkunku if he's better when he comes back. Maybe Chelsea will pick up some form as well, and you can go for someone like Thiago Silva if you're expecting a clean sheet, or any other player that seems to emerge there. And then we've got Salah, and then probably it's going to be Dunk again. So it's not too bad. The only real difficult ones in there are the two fixtures that involve Wolves. Everyone else should be fairly covered quite easily, but again, these are your best captains. In my opinion, of course, you can have a look yourself and make your own list, etc., and see what kind of players to bring in. But I think that's it really for the captaincies. There's not really too much else to go over. You can always take a screenshot of this if you're looking for a rough guide up until the overhaul anyway in terms of captaincies. But we're going to take a look at the fixture gains now. Again, I haven't really looked at these yet myself, so we are going to look at them together. Probably going to be kind of like the later fixtures, because we do already kind of know what we have for the upcoming fixtures. So for us that are bringing in the Arsenal guys, obviously Saliba's going to be a popular transfer this week, or was the past couple of weeks. It doesn't really look like there's too much going on there in terms of fixture gains. There's maybe a few 3-for-1s here at the start of December. 4-for-1 with Spurs actually. Wednesday the 6th of December, after the Luton game, you're getting one Arsenal game, and then you're getting these 4 with Spurs. So that's always an option if you're looking again to get Son back for those single game days. You're getting the West Ham fixture, Newcastle fixture, and Nottingham Forest, which is a captaincy, and then you can always keep them right until the end. So that's always one that you could pencil in. After that, they've got Liverpool, which looks like it's a bit of a gap there as well. 3-for-1s with Aston Villa, including the Sheffield captaincy. 3-for-1 with Chelsea, with the Wolves captaincy, with Palace, Brighton captaincy, and then Sheffield as well, which we're not really going to be too interested in. That really looks like it's a bit it for Arsenal. For Watkins, if we're looking to get him out here, which is where the difficult fixtures start to kind of take place, we're looking after this game, so that's the 25th of November. Really anyone who's got, is there a hop on point there for Spurs after that game? There's not, because they literally play Spurs, so that doesn't work as well. I don't really know if there's really much to do with that. There's always, City don't have much. City still have tough fixtures at that point. I mean, you could always, I mean, that is your pick there, I suppose. If you're going to go for Rodri at this game, you're not going to have Son, and you can always captain Watkins on this fixture on the 26th, and then look elsewhere, again, like the Arsenal fixtures, to bring in someone from Spurs. Obviously, we do have the missing game with City and Brentford, which comes right in this area here. So there is a big gap here with City's fixtures, and you're literally looking at 3-for-1s, 3-for-0s and 4-for-0s. Mainly looking at Villa again, maybe looking at a point to bring Watkins back in for someone like Rodri, if you're wanting Rodri for these fixtures. You can always get him out. get someone like Watkins back for Brentford, Sheffield captaincy, and then Man United as well. Let's see what else we've got in terms of Brighton. I don't know if many people own a Brighton player, but I think you'd want to be keeping them right up to this fixture anyway, even though there is a big gap here. There's really not much other than Luton having 4 games, and you're not really going to be wanting to get rid of those players for Sheffield and Forest. So Brighton, I think you're okay just to hold, apart from obviously this area, which looks quite tough, but again, we'll come to that by the time the 22nd of November rolls round. Chelsea players, I wouldn't be bringing one in for this game here. You're not looking at a captaincy up until the 24th of December. Again, someone like Nkunku, if he was to be back. Brighton, there you go. There's maybe an option there if you wanted to take one of your Brighton guys out. You can always go to a Chelsea player. You get a 4-for-1 there with the captaincy. Arsenal as well, a 4-for-1 with the captaincy. Fulham, Liverpool, Newcastle. So there is a few decent hop-on points if you are wanting a captain for that Wolves day. It does, again, it is the same way with Wolves. So you can really pick between your Wolves and Chelsea player and you will be fine. It is worth noting though that they don't have a game after that, so you will be missing out, but I don't think that's going to be the end of the world with one transfer. So we've looked at Arsenal, we've looked at Villa, looked at Brighton, looked at Chelsea. Let's have a look at Liverpool and see what there is. Liverpool's fixtures are just great for a good while, I suppose up to the United fixture, but you wouldn't be taking out you wouldn't be taking out Salah because his fixtures are too good. His form is too good, and they do have that late single game day against Newcastle. So Salah just stays in the team right up until overhaul. I think that is a fair assumption. If you've got anyone else, maybe if you're bringing Darwin Núñez in, probably want to get him out here. That seems like the best point, which is going to be this bit here. So the tough fixtures right there for Liverpool, just before the Burnley game. You're looking at 2-2-2, 1-2-2, 3-for-2, not worth that. Any teams with 4? Not really, to be honest. So you could, at least you know you're not really missing out on fixture gains by holding someone like Núñez. Same with Tsimikas as well. Maybe Robertson will come back soon. If he does and he's back by the 17th of December, it's probably ideal anyway because the fixtures do get a bit worse. But again, Liverpool's probably not the most essential in terms of getting them out. 3-for-1 with Spurs there with the captaincy, missing out in the United game. 3-for-1 with Sheffield, don't care about that. 3-for-1 with Palace, with a City game in there, you probably don't want to worry about that either. 2 Brighton games away, 3-for-1, one against Arsenal, and then Villa again. So it does look like there's a good chance, a good opportunity to get Watkins back in if you want to get him out at some point. There is a few hop-on points there with him. The same again with the Chelsea players, and of course Son for this game as well. So it looks like we can cover captaincies fairly decently, basically all the way up to the overhaul. Okay, so I took a cut for a little bit there just to kind of have a look over it myself and kind of decide a possible transfer plan for going into the overhaul fixtures. So this is kind of just a plan that you can use and it covers the best captaincies. This isn't based on my team, this is just kind of based on popular players right now and who you might have. So bear with me because this is going to be quite tough to explain, but let's say you have a team that has Son in it. You're planning to do the Son to Rodri move on the 12th of November. This could also be Maddison, so let's keep in mind that this could also be Maddison. On the let me actually explain this. I'll be better doing this on the 3-for-1. So you're moving Son on to Rodri on this day here, which means you're going to have Son for the Chelsea and Wolves game or Maddison. Then you're moving Rodri on for this game here. and you're missing out on Son for the next few fixtures. Let's say then after that you want to get Son back in for the 7th of November. Let's say most of us are going to have Watkins. Again, this could you kind of want to relate this to your own team. I think most of us should have Watkins anyway. So Watkins comes out, Son comes in on the 7th of November, the 7th of December, which is going to be right here for this West Ham game. So Watkins has just played against Man City. You're getting Watkins for all the good fixtures, and then you're missing him for the Arsenal game and Brentford game by game. We'll look at that in a second. So you're going to have you're going to have Son for the West Ham, Newcastle and Forest fixture, and I believe we're keeping him right up to the overall. So that means you're going to have Son for all these fixtures, including the Everton game, the Brighton game and the Bournemouth game. So this is kind of where you're going to want Son for, because this is where the captaincies come in, because you're going to have him captain for this Everton game and you're going to have him captain for this Bournemouth game as well. So that seems like a fair transfer. Then we're looking at Bissouma to Hwang. Again, most people probably don't have Bissouma, but this can be Rice or anyone. Hwang is down as a midfielder, and a lot of us do have 5 midfielders right now. So whether that's maybe Nakamba, Bissouma, Rice, if you've got him, really anyone. We've went for Hwang because he covers the 2 captaincy days, including the one against Chelsea later on. You would do that. What day was that transfer? That was on the 27th of November, I want to say. Yes, so that's right in time for this Fulham game. You're going to take out, the reason I went for Bissouma though over everyone is because you get this 3 for 1 here, well 4 for 1 including the captaincy, and you miss out Bissouma against City. So that is that pick there, and then again you're picking Hwang all the way up to here. And again, I'm not saying Hwang is the best captaincy or is a very good, like a great idea for going forward. However, the fixtures do look good with a Burnley at home game, a Forest at home game in between all that as well. And then you're keeping them till that Chelsea fixture at home. Again, this plan is just so that you can cover all of the captaincy days. So that is why I've went for Hwang, because I do still think Palhinha is probably the best. But we'll ignore that for now. So that transfer is made, and then you're looking at getting Dunk back in. I don't know how many people still have Dunk, but I know a lot of people did take him out, and most of us again have Saliba. So you're going to want Dunk back on the 6th of December, which is right here, and the reason I've went for that over Saliba is because you get basically a 5 for 2 over Saliba here. You're bringing him in after the Luton game, where Arsenal's fixtures do look very like they wouldn't be keeping clean sheets. Villa, Brighton, Liverpool, a big gap there where they probably aren't going to keep too many clean sheets, so getting Saliba out does seem like a fair option. And then you're getting 4 games here, including this captaincy against Palace with Dunk, and that's Brentford, Burnley, both home games. Even though Brighton aren't looking good for clean sheets, you would hope for clean sheets there. Then they have Arsenal, and then you have the Palace captaincy. So it's really a 5 for 2 there with Dunk over Saliba. And then obviously you would be keeping Dunk possibly up until this captaincy on West Ham. But again, you are going to just have to hold him through the blank where he does not play. And then we're looking at Rodri back to Watkins on the 22nd of December. So obviously we've done Son to Rodri on the 12th of November. We're going to get him back. We're going to get Watkins back on this day here, where you are missing out on that City, the City blank. Then you're getting the captaincy against Sheffield, the Man United game and the Burnley game, and then Rodri obviously gets these 2 games, but you're getting him back for the captaincy. Now I have kind of done like a shortened version of this if you don't want to use that many transfers. This is assuming that you have these 5 players. If you've got Haaland, Salah, Saka, Son and Watkins, you really only need 2 transfers and you're sorted for captaincies. I'll look at this again in a second, but Bissouma to Hwang, the same transfer, again could be Rice, could be Nakamba, depending on what kind of team you're going with. And then Saliba to Dunk, again the same day here. And maybe even have Dunk as well. If you've got Dunk in this team, let's add him there. Then you're literally 1 transfer away from basically having all the captaincies. So let's take a copy of this right there, move over to the best captains, and then stick it right there. So Haaland is a tick, Salah is a tick, Son is a tick, Saka is a tick, Dunk is now a tick. Polina you've not got, but you are going to have Hwang with that transfer, so add Hwang back in here. Again, really could be any Wolves player, it's really up to you. I'm just using him as an example. Hwang covers Polina, and he also covers Thiago Silva, which means you really just need Trippier and Watkins. You already have Watkins in your team, meaning the only captaincy you need left is Trippier. And then looking at the day where I've chose Trippier as the best captain is literally this Thursday here, and you can easily pick Son for that captaincy day, which is the reason why I did choose to bring him back in on the 7th of November. So you do have that option to captain him against West Ham on this day. So if you've got a team really that's sitting with, we'll go with these 6 players right now, and you want to maybe aim to get these 6 players in at some point, but I know a lot of people are going to have Haaland, Salah, Saka and Watkins, which means you just need to get Son in, you just need to get Dunk in. Which I think makes the Maddison to Son transfer look a bit more appealing, because if you've got these guys and then maybe you've got like over say 38 transfers, there's literally only one penciled in here in terms of getting a captaincy in, which makes me think you could get away with doing Maddison to Son, and you won't really have to worry about the transfers too much. So I'm going to go make a team right now, and then I'll show you that team. Okay, so here's a rough team. Again, bear with me. I feel like it is starting to get a bit complicated now, but just as a basis, I feel like this is what could be considered like an average team right now in Sky. Most of these players are fairly well owned. Again, you can add kind of your own thing in here. If you have Maddison, you can always add that Son transfer in here. But if you're someone who owns Son, you can always make that transfer to Rodri. You're saving yourself 0.3 million. And then you can go from Watkins to Son, which is a perfectly okay transfer. So I'm not going to take Son out right now because we are looking at getting him back. But in terms of your final team, you really want to be looking at maybe, we'll say Basuma out. I believe Hwang's 7.9 million. If I'm wrong on this, then this may be totally off, but I believe he is roughly 7.9. Am I wrong with that? I know he's not that expensive. Where is Hwang Chan? Oh, he's 7.3 million. Wow, right, okay, that's surprising. Right, okay, so he's literally the same price as Basuma, so that makes a lot of sense. Right, so we're saving even more money than I originally thought. So we're going for Hwang Chan. Son's in the team. Realistically, I don't know if you need Rodri. Like, you're going to be taking him out because you're worrying about that that's missing game day late on in December. But then Saliba to Dunk as well. This could easily be anyone. Like let's even take Rice out for Dunk, because we have the money to do so. So let us go to Dunk here, and that is that team right there. And I think if we literally just head over to the captaincy days. Sorry, not the best captains. Okay, so looking at the best captains, we've got Haaland, we have Salah, we have Saka, we have Son, we have Dunk, we have Hwang Chan instead of Polina and Thiago Silva, we have Son to cover the Trippier captain, and we have Watkins. So that's literally a team right there which covers all of your captaincies up until the overhaul. And again, if you don't want maybe Hwang Chan, that is literally like a couple of transfers from the main team. I think that's literally only 2 transfers. If I look at it myself and I'm looking to get this particular team, let me expand that. So I'll go back to my team right now. A possible option we're going to do, I think I'm going to make the Bayer to Simicast transfer this week because I do need a defender, but again, I'm just speaking from the top of my head right now, so I do still have to look at it properly. Let's say I done Maddison to Son. It is a transfer that looks like it might have to be made just because of the amount of captaincies there. Say we do Basuma to Hwang Chan. Don't have to worry about cash for that. And then we're literally... Who else am I needing from that? I don't actually think I need anyone else from that. I think that covers all the captaincies. So that's 3 transfers. And again, this wouldn't happen right now. Obviously, we are looking at maybe a couple weeks down the line, but I would preferably like Saliba in there, but unfortunately I don't have the money from Rice to make that transfer. Because I am holding Pope. But that's 3 transfers, and I've got 38 left in this team. If you remember from previous videos, the plan is to have 30 transfers left by the overhaul, so that's 5 transfers there I've got to play with. Could always take Pope out, Romero's an option to bring out, Rice can come out whenever, and I can even take Hwang out in between the captaincy days, and then maybe getting Kunku in later if possible. But again, Hwang could always be Polinia, the money's available to do that as well, and then not even have to worry about Hwang at all. Keep Polinia for the long term, and then we're looking very, very solid. So it doesn't look like it's really too much that needs to be done in terms of getting the correct team set up for the overhaul, or basically up until the overhaul. So I think it should be alright. I think if you've got any questions, obviously there will be a lot of questions. This is very based on having specific players, but obviously you can kind of jig things about and set it to your own terms. If you've got any questions, make sure to leave it in the comments below, or tag me on Twitter, DM me on Twitter, they are open if you've got any questions about anything. If you've sat through this whole thing, I think this is the longest video I've ever made. Again, I kind of wanted to have it as like a podcasty live stream type thing, even though it's not live, just to kind of talk over some thoughts rather than shove graphics in your face. But if you made it this whole way, thank you so much, because it means a lot. I've been rambling on for a long time, so thank you so much for watching. If you're new, make sure to subscribe, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it as well, and I will see you all in the next video.